Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a fascinating and mysterious story from history. The Titanic. You may have heard about the Titanic from movies or books, but I promise this version will feel new and exciting. I will explain everything in detail, including facts that may surprise you. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. The birth of the Titanic. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was a dream. People saw it as a symbol of luxury, success, and human achievement. In the early 1900s, traveling by ship was the best way to cross the ocean. There were no airplanes for long trips, so ships were very important. At that time, two big companies built large ships, White Star Line and Cunard Line. These companies were in competition. Cunard Line made very fast ships, like Lusitania and Mauretania. White Star Line, however, wanted to build ships that were big and comfortable instead of fast. They planned to build three very large and luxurious ships. Their names were Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. Out of these three, the Titanic became the most famous, but not in the way people expected. The Titanic was built in a city called Belfast, in Northern Ireland. A company named Harland and Wolff worked on the construction. They started building the ship in March 1909. It took almost 3 years to finish. Thousands of workers helped build it. The Titanic was a huge ship. It was 882 feet, 269 meters long, and 175 feet, 53 meters tall. This means it was as long as 3 football fields and as tall as a 17-story building. The Titanic was made to be the most luxurious ship in the world. It had beautiful rooms, fine restaurants, and even a swimming pool, something very rare at that time. People believed the ship was unsinkable, meaning it could never sink. But sadly, history proved them wrong. Why was the Titanic called unsinkable? The Titanic was a very big and modern ship. It was built with new technology to make it very strong. One of its special features was 16 watertight compartments. These were special rooms that could stop water from spreading if the ship was damaged. Engineers believed that even if 4 of these compartments filled with water, the ship would not sink. They thought the ship would stay floating on the ocean. Because of this, many people believed the Titanic was unsinkable. Even Philip Franklin, the vice president of the White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic, said, "The Titanic is unsinkable." Newspapers and magazines also told people that the Titanic was a very safe ship. They wrote that it could not sink. Many passengers felt safe because of these ideas. They trusted the ship and did not worry about danger. But on April 14th, 1912, the Titanic hit a big iceberg. The iceberg made a long hole in the ship, more than 4 compartments filled with water. Because of this, the ship could not stay floating. Sadly, the Titanic sank in the ocean. Many people were shocked because they believed the ship was unsinkable. This is why the Titanic was called unsinkable before it sank. Inside the Titanic, traveling on the Titanic was more than a journey. It was an experience. The interiors looked like a 5-star hotel. Hand-carved wood, stained glass windows, and grand staircases made it luxurious. The first-class grand staircase became iconic, with gold details and a glass dome. The Titanic had many rare features for a ship at that time. A heated swimming pool, a Turkish bath for relaxation, an electric bath considered a modern luxury, a gym with exercise machines, a squash court for sports lovers, a library, 2 barber shops, fancy restaurants and cafes. Even second-class cabins were better than first-class cabins on most ships. Third-class cabins were simple but still comfortable compared to other ships. The Titanic's first journey. The Titanic cost $7.5 million to build in 1912, about $200 million today. First-class tickets were $4,350, equal to $100,000 today. Second-class tickets were $60, $1,500 today. And third-class tickets were $15 to $40, $400 to $1,000 today. The ship was a luxury experience, and only the wealthy could afford first class. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic left Southampton, England, heading to New York City. Crowds gathered to watch. On board were 2,224 passengers and crew, including some of the richest people in the world, like John Jacob Astor IV and Isidor Straus. Many third-class passengers were immigrants hoping for a new life in America. Warnings of danger. The journey was smooth at first. The Titanic cruised at 21.5 knots. about 40 kilometers per hour. But on April 14th, the ship received multiple iceberg warnings. Other ships sent messages through Morse code, warning about icebergs ahead. Some messages never reached Captain Edward Smith, and others were ignored. Believing the ship was safe, the captain did not slow down. That night was dark, with no moon and calm water. This made icebergs harder to see. Two lookout men, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, were in the crow's nest. They had no binoculars because the officer responsible forgot to hand them over. At 11:39 p.m., Fleet saw a massive iceberg and rang the warning bell 3 times, shouting, "Iceberg, right ahead!" The collision first officer, William Murdoch, saw the iceberg and knew it was dangerous. He quickly ordered the ship to turn left and slow down. The crew tried their best, but the ship was too big and moving too fast. It was too late. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic hit the iceberg. The iceberg was huge. It had been in the ocean for about 100,000 years and weighed 1.5 million tons. When the ship crashed into it, the impact was very strong. The steel plates on the side of the ship cracked. Water started to rush inside. The Titanic had special compartments to keep water out, but 6 of them filled up very quickly. This was more than the ship could handle. The Titanic was in big trouble. At first, most passengers did not know there was a problem. Some people felt a small shake. Others heard a strange grinding noise. Some even thought the ship had just hit a small piece of ice. But deep inside the ship, in the engine room, the crew saw the truth. Water was coming in fast. The Titanic was sinking. The sinking. At midnight, Captain Smith held an emergency meeting. He ordered the lifeboats to be lowered and distress signals to be sent. The Titanic had 20 lifeboats, but they could only hold about 1,178 people, leaving more than 1,000 people without a chance to escape. Wireless operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride sent distress signals using Morse code, CQD, come quick, danger, and SOS, save our souls. The RMS Carpathia, a ship 93 kilometers away, responded, but it would take 4 hours to arrive. The SS Californian, only 20 miles away, did not respond because its radio operator had gone to bed. The crew lowered lifeboats, but many left half empty. First-class passengers hesitated to leave their luxurious surroundings. Third-class passengers struggled to find their way up due to locked gates and language barriers. The cold water was another threat. It was minus 2 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Fahrenheit, causing hypothermia within minutes. By 1:30 a.m., the Titanic's bow was underwater. The stern lifted high into the air. At 2:15 a.m., the ship broke in two. The bow sank first, followed by the stern. The rescue. At 4 a.m., a big ship called the Carpathia arrived to help. It found 705 people who were still alive. These people were cold, scared, and very tired. The sailors on the Carpathia pulled them onto the ship and gave them warm blankets, food, and water. By 8:30 a.m., all the survivors were safely on the Carpathia. They were sad because many of their family and friends were lost. More than 1,500 people had died in the cold water. It was one of the worst ship accidents in history. Many people would always remember this sad event. The mystery of the SS Californian. There is still one big question. Why didn't the SS Californian help the Titanic? This ship was very close, only 20 miles away, when the Titanic hit the iceberg and started to sink. The crew on the Californian saw bright lights in the sky. These were distress flares from the Titanic asking for help, but the crew did not understand this. Captain Stanley Lord thought the lights were just fireworks for celebration. Another problem was the ship's radio. The radio operator had turned it off for the night. This meant they did not hear the Titanic's distress calls asking for help. Because of this, the Californian did not go to the Titanic in time. If the Californian had understood the flares and kept the radio on, they might have helped save hundreds of people. Many people believe that this was a terrible mistake. Even today, people still talk about what happened that night. Conclusion: the sinking of the Titanic was a big shock for the whole world. Many people were sad and wanted to make sure such a disaster never happened again. Because of this, new safety rules were made. Ships were required to have enough lifeboats for everyone, and better systems were created to warn about icebergs in the ocean. In 1985, after many years, scientists found the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. It was deep under the water, broken, but still a powerful reminder of what happened. Even today, people remember the Titanic. It is a story of human dreams, a great tragedy, and important lessons about safety and nature. Thank you for listening to this amazing story. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.